Hi everyone, Simon Jacobson here, another episode of Meaningful Live. When the going gets tough, the tough keep going. A variation on the tough get going. They keep going. This program is dedicated by David Pack in loving memory of his grandmother Maria da Vinci, Malka Chana, Bat Shlomo, and Rivka. We all have challenges in life. It's part of what life is all about. I remember reading that maybe one of the first big self-help bestsellers of our time, The Road Less Traveled. I think it goes back to 1971 when it was first published. And the study showed that most people who bought the book never read the book. When you ask people, what did you love about this book? The first opening line. Life is difficult. I'm not suggesting that's what made it a bestseller, not that cynical, but life is difficult. It resonated with everybody. Life is difficult. Correct. Life has challenges. And how you deal with challenges is going to define who you are. Defines who you are. Because it demonstrates what you're capable of. You know, when things are going well, it's hard to really tell what a person is like. Warren Buffett, I should say. Warren Buffett put it this way. Until the tide is out, you don't know who's been swimming naked. So when things are going well, you know, everybody can be equal. It's when there's a challenge, when there's a difficulty, when there's a setback. That's when you see what you're made of. So let's talk about that, when the going gets tough. Some people, as soon as the going gets tough, they retreat. They retreat, surrender, resign themselves, give up, turn cynical. Everybody has their way of coping. Others, when the going gets tough, they go to war. And maybe sometimes too much. They thrive on confrontation. And then there's the middle ground, the balanced place. When the going gets tough, it brings out deeper resources. It's not a matter of winning. It's not a matter of just principle. It's a matter of digging deeper and finding inner strengths. So most important is to remember this. When people say, should I fight every battle that comes my way? Not necessarily. You should choose your battles. Some battles are not worth fighting. Some battles are worth fighting. You definitely don't want to take a position of always taking the path of least resistance, which is retreating. But it has to be done with discretion. But when the decision is made, and sometimes it has to be done in the spur of the moment, that you need to really rise to the occasion, you don't hesitate. Because that brings out the real you. I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt that said, regarding women, but you can apply this to anyone, that tough people are like a tea bag. You don't know how strong they are until you put them into hot water. So where does this come from? Why do two people with the same challenges, with the same difficulties, with the same toughness, tough situation that is, why do some people have that resilience, have the resources, and some don't? Is it just luck? Are we wired that way? Well, it has a lot to do with our childhood and a lot to do with what we saw around us. And if you're in your formative years, the people that have shaped you were fearful, were insecure, retreated, and avoided challenges, very likely that's what you picked up. You just simply picked up, that's what you do. You just stay away from things of that nature, anything that's somewhat challenging. If people around you showed confidence and courage, very likely that was the attitude that you will have. Yes, there's no question that some of us are wired in different ways, but it has a lot to do with security and insecurity, with your own self-confidence. Now, some people, it comes out of desperation. Things have been so bad in their lives that they've developed a certain element of survival instinct where they know they have to fight. The flight or fight syndrome. But as I said, the key is it should come from a strong and a healthy place. So a good example would be two swimmers. One is an excellent swimmer and one is a weak or bad swimmer. They both are swimming in the waters. The same storm strikes. What's the difference how they will swim, how they will navigate? So the bad swimmer, not having experience, will usually do things, go by their instincts, their unhealthy instincts, and just try to fight the waves, the tide, which of course will exhaust them and deplete their strengths, and who knows what could happen. A good swimmer, as soon as he sees a high tide, or as soon as he sees a storm coming, he will let go, actually. He's not going to fight the tide. He'll let himself float. Just like in business, people who are experienced, when there's a downturn, they will use it as a time for introspection, for evaluation, and so on. They're not going to fight City Hall, so to speak. So the first thing is that someone that's experienced knows how to navigate. That's the key, knowing how to navigate. Not that the storm is less intense. Is the results are less intense because you know how to navigate. You know when to go with the flow, and then when to thrust forward when you have that ability. So it's assessing a situation which is critical. And it's interesting that a person who has that, the good swimmer, is actually going to use adversity as a springboard for growth. That's what you do. So it's all about really knowing how to navigate. So knowing how to navigate is a big part of it. Second thing is the confidence that you can get through any situation if you really allow yourself. That doesn't mean it's always going to end up the way you like, but it means that you apply yourself, you'll get through it. I remember my early years, my career, and I began to write, and I came up, as all of us get to a place of writer's block, not knowing how to get beyond that, and you just get so frustrated, you want to give up. And I remember I was sitting and writing something I had to write. It was late at night, Saturday night. And I kept, those days it was a typewriter. I kept taking the first draft, the first page, crumpling it up in a ball, throwing it in the garbage pail. And I had a garbage can filled with these first crumpled drafts. There were no word processors at the time. My father, for some reason, got up early that night, maybe 4 a.m., and he sees me frustrated and like really down. And I said to him, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do it. And he said to me, as a seasoned veteran that he was, he said, you keep at it. Don't stop. You keep doing it. It'll take time. It's going to be frustrating. It's always going to be difficult to write, even in 30 years from now. The only difference is that you'll know then that you could do it because you did it before. So I took that lesson. I never forgot it. I tried till 6 a.m. 6 a.m., that first page started coming out half decent. But I remembered over the years, it never got easier. It's not like I suddenly figured out that's so easy to write. Sometimes easier, sometimes harder, but I remember that. I remembered I know that I'll get there. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. People who've run marathons, when you hear in sports, experience matters so much, you start saying, what do they have in experience? Einstein experiences teaches you new methods and so on, but experience is something that's more invisible. And that is that you know you can do it. You've been there. If you haven't been there, there's always that creeping doubt that maybe I can't really do it. Maybe it's not for me. Maybe the challenge is too great. But you know you can do it. That helps tremendously because the path has been paved. You still have to get through it. I'm not saying that's easy. So keeping that in mind, another point I want to make, very beautiful Hasidic story parable, I should say. There's a man called Rameir of Primishlan. Primishlan was a city in Russia. Now in those days, especially in the winter, it was freezing cold. He came Friday to a certain town to spend the Shabbat there. Before the Shabbat, he wanted to go and immerse himself in a ritual bath. The problem was the bathhouse, the mikveh, was at the bottom of a very slippery sloped mountain. So nobody went in the winter. But he insisted. They said, you can't go there. It's dangerous. It's slippery slopes, But he insisted. 2 cynics decided to follow him because he wasn't a young man. And they followed him and they see he walks down the slope, all intact. One of them slipped and broke a leg, and this one, they couldn't make it. Later that evening in the synagogue, when he came to prayer, they said, how did you do that? How are you able to walk on the slopes, go into the bathhouse, then come back out and walk back without one slip? He didn't slip once. And he said in Yiddish, I'll say it in Yiddish, it has a certain ring to it. Am es zugebunden eben, fällt man nicht unten. When you're bound above, you don't fall below. Meaning, when someone gives you a rope and you're going down, no matter where you are, even if it's dangerous slopes, but the rope that you're holding is keeping you up. It's like someone threw you a life saver, a life raft. What does that mean psychologically? When you're connected to something greater than yourself, you're not just going with your own strengths. You know you're representing a cause. You know that you're doing it for the greater good. That gives you an additional strength that you would not have on your own. And that's something that really is critical. And it applies to everybody. You'll say, 1 second, I may not be a person of faith. I don't know if I turn above to God or to whatever is that higher power. Everybody has that. And look at this. Anyone that's innovated things, you don't think they had setbacks? You don't think they had doubts? I remember once a doctor was to come to my class. He was a research doctor. He had chosen a few illnesses that were more obscure, not so known, that he wanted to conquer in the lab. And he was confident that he absolutely will. And he dedicated his life to it. I don't even remember which they were, but they were. Now, he can call himself an atheist, an unbeliever. And I said to him a few times, I said, how are you so sure you're going to conquer this disease? That you're going to find a cure? He said, I'm absolutely sure. I know it. I said, you sound like a fanatic, religious fanatic. Because based on what? Is it logical? Maybe you won't. So he still had faith. He just didn't call it God. He called it nature, medicine, his own willpower, whatever it was. The Wright brothers. Imagine they came to an investor who said, just give us $100. $100 was a lot of money back then. And we're going to build a flying ship. And how heavy will this ship be? 100 tons. I don't know, whatever. What's a plane's weight? And that's going to fly in the sky. Really, very nice. It's a nice fantasy. I am sure they were rejected and laughed at. Fly to fly. And today, airports, our entire industries, it's entire cities, industries upon industries. Because two crazy brothers, I say crazy, I mean that with a certain grain of salt, insisted that we will figure out how to fly. And they didn't say only birds fly. You'll see time and again a mother who won't take no for an answer from doctors who say your autistic child will never have a relationship with you. Just not possible. And the mother insists with her child, hours upon hours. No, the child didn't heal from autism, but the connection was made where doctors marvel and say, we can't explain it. There's something there. It's a humility, but also an understanding of the mystery of life. And that's holding on to something higher than you are. And that gives you strength to get through tough times. So it's not just that you have toughness within you. Is that you can develop that and cultivate it if you have something that connects you to that, where you feel it's not an option. Something you love deeply. It's not optional. It's not arbitrary. Then you fight all the way. Again, you have to choose your battles. And there are things that you may put all your effort and it may not work out exactly as you applied yourself. But you did everything possible. You can say calmly, peacefully, and be at peace with the fact that I tried everything I could. Maybe the issue will be resolved in a different way. It's really about your own self. So we have many challenges today. They can be personal, they can be professional, they can be financial, medical, health issues. The list goes on. It could be relationships, relationship-oriented, or it could just be the uncertainty in the world in which we live. Whatever it may be, you have deeper resources, much deeper than you even imagine. But you need to apply yourself to these principles we've been speaking about, the confidence that's needed, binding yourself to something higher, finding people around you who build that confidence so you're not alone, and the humility. You don't have it all figured out. There's more to life than we may ever know. And those are the things that when you build them, they can give you tremendous strength, more than you can imagine. And to go back to that point, it's important to know, yes, have a friend you can lean on. You don't have to be all alone in this world. We're far stronger when we have the support. This doesn't mean you don't do whatever you can do, but you have others as well that can complement. I meant with an E. Complement you, and also complement you with an I, support you, give you the confidence, the strength necessary. And you could see you can forge ahead and break through in ways you never could have imagined. But you have to believe in it. You have to believe that's possible. And yes, indeed. So when the going gets tough, the tough keep going. Not only get going, they keep going. They find a way. And if it's not this direction, they go a different direction. And if it's not through forward thrust, maybe they float and go with the flow, being wise, knowing how to navigate the vicissitudes, navigate the waves of life. So we should all be blessed to have the least amount of challenges, but when they come, especially difficult ones, painful ones, not that we should have no challenges. We must have challenges. We need resistance to grow. We need pushback. We need something to overcome. But when we have them, recognize that they're really catalysts. They're sent to you as springboards to propel you to places you never could have reached on your own. Simon Jacobson here from meaningfullife.com. Please subscribe to our offerings, to our YouTube channel. Please share, and love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, your comments. Be blessed and be well.